Jurors saw the full freak-off tapes. While the moaning and the slapping had some clutching their pearls, Diddy trial week 6 left us with a black juror replaced with an older white juror. What it means for the case, and for the first time, receipts shown in court, the travel records and company credit cards the feds say Diddy used to set up freak-offs and transport male escorts to Cassie.
What account did the money come from? Are you using this money from a business account?
All right, I have Saràn, Tarawaley, and Jade Whiteside here, TSR reporters on ground, covering the Diddy trial. Week 6, ladies, it started with a juror that was dismissed. Talk about this juror. He was a black man replaced by a white man, an older white man.
Yeah, so his replacement caused a lot of uproar within the courtroom and also outside of the courtroom because everyone was saying that this black man who's on a very diverse jury actually is being dismissed because of his inconsistency with the responses about where he lives. Of course, honesty is the best policy, so the judge stood on his decision and decided to remove him from the case.
Gotcha. And where he lives, he said that he lived in the Bronx, but has been living with his girlfriend. Also, he answered some questions saying that he's been living with his girlfriend in New Jersey.
He had various different responses from his conversations inside of the court with other people, but also the answers that he put down when they initially asked him the questions about where he lives. And of course, these things are all important because you want to make sure that the jury is a jury of his peers so that he gets a fair shot at freedom.
How do you think this will play out in court for both prosecution and the defense? Obviously, it throws a wrench in a lot of things, having a juror of a different race. For the defense, it could mean that there are less people of color. It does mean that there are less people of color in the juror pool now. And for the prosecution, they now have to keep this new juror abreast of what's going on. So what does this mean for the case moving forward?
I mean, we really don't know. The judge did not want to discuss any questions about like the race aspect because he believes that this is a fair jury. And the reason why they have alternate jurors are for situations like this. So he believes that it's still fair and the case is still ongoing.
Gotcha, gotcha. Jade, you also spent some time in the courtroom as well. What did you see? You were obviously there for cross-examination of one of the prosecution's key witnesses.
Yeah, so when I attended court, Special Agent Pinland, she was on the stand and she spoke to a lot of the evidence that the government had within its charts. And during cross examination, at the start, they wanted to get like a clear definition on what her role is. And with a lot of the text messages and evidence that they asked her to read within the court, it was obvious that they were trying to make their point that, within Diddy's and Cassie's, relationship, that a lot of the things were consensual. We've read about and we've heard about, like these hotel nights, freak offs, and a lot of the text messages that she read, consisted of her, Cassie saying, I want to do this. And Diddy would say, I'm on whatever you're on. They would kind of like cooperate and kind of figure out like which escort they were going to use for these incidents and stuff like that. And even just speaking to their relationship outside the bedroom, there were a lot of text messages between them where they talked about, loving one another. I know one text message that stood out to me while listening to the back and forth on the stand with the agent as well as, the defense. There was I can't remember the exact year, but there was a year for Father's Day. Cassie, she texted Puff and she, wished him for Father's Day. And she said, I can't wait for us to have a child of our own where we can celebrate Father's Day. So I think they just wanted to make it clear that, she, at some point definitely was willingly in this relationship. There was love that was present in this relationship. And, she wasn't being held against her will. She wasn't being forced, to love him and stuff like that. So I think that was definitely, the key thing that they were trying to get across in the courtroom that day.
Yeah, something that people have been going back and forth. Was this something that Cassie was held against her will for, or did she agree to do those things? And that's something that ultimately the jury is going to have to decide. And to your point, Jade, they brought two summary witnesses that also showed hotel records. Saràn, these hotel records, they painted a picture of bank records and documents and travel records, and their prosecution is trying to prove that Diddy used some of his money, his bad boy credit cards, however he got money and gave it to Cassie to get some of these prostitutes to Cassie. Can you talk about that, and can you kind of just run down some of the bank records and travel records that were admitted in court?
Yes, we got into a lot of the logistics this week in court. So we looked at some of the receipts, some of the damages, the amount of the damages that they would cause to the hotel. Of course, during Cassie's testimony, she spoke about there being damage to the linens and the curtains, and there being baby oil everywhere on the walls, the carpets being damaged. And these receipts actually backed that up. He had one receipt that was about over $900 just in damages that he had to pay to one hotel. There was another receipt for like $46,000, I believe. So the numbers were very reflective of the testimony that we've been hearing overall in this case. And they just continue to prove everything that some of the witnesses have been saying.
Let's also talk about, racketeering. Racketeering is a set of illegal activities aimed at commercial profit that may be disguised as legitimate business deals or a coordinated effort by multiple people to repeatedly earn a profit. I did speak to attorney Justin Miller about this, who had a lot to say about what this means as far as those RICO charges and those transportation of a prostitute charge. Take a listen.
They are going very hard to show that he's spending money, and where the money's coming from is very important too. They are all talking about that. What account did the money come from? Are you using this money from a business account? So you're mingling your business assets and your personal assets, and you're using your business assets to pay for prostitutes to be transported across state lines, to pay for drugs to use in freak offs, to pay for the cleanup after the freak off, to pay for flights and people to move around, all from your business accounts. I mean, this shows that this is an enterprise, that he is setting it up so that his business is doing freak offs. And that is illegal because you are moving around prostitutes. Prostitution is illegal. It's illegal because you're using drugs. Drugs are illegal. It's illegal because when you're going across state lines doing these things, it becomes federal. And when you're using other people, different people, to help you do these things, it becomes a RICO.
It is also important to note that Sean P. Diddy Combs has pled not guilty to all the federal charges against him. The prosecution expected to rest their case. The defense expected to plead their case as early as next week, with calling a witness possibly the VP of Bad Boy Entertainment. And it is still unclear whether Sean P. Diddy Combs will testify in his own defense. As soon as we learn more, we'll pass it along to you. For now, this is a TSR Investigates special report, Trial Watch. I'm Justin Carter. Hello, roommates, and thank you for watching our YouTube channel. Do you want more TSR Investigates? Be sure to subscribe and check us out at theshaderoom.com.